Welcome back, fellas. Today we have week 7. We're almost halfway through the NFL season. Kind of crazy to think about. Just a few days ago, it felt like we were in week 1. College football was just starting. But now we are on full go, ready to roll for week 7. I have 5 picks for you for this Sunday. And we're going to hop straight into them. Waste zero time. On Underdog Fantasy, per usual, as you guys know the drill, use code BDGE when you sign up. You get $1,000 plus 2 free plays. Patrick Mahomes on a free play and Aaron Rodgers on a free play. Can't get much better than that now, can it? 2 free plays up to $1,000. Take advantage while you can. And we're going to start out with the first play not being David Montgomery, being back to Jahmyr Gibbs. If you remember me talking about Jahmyr Gibbs last week, we cashed that over last week. Now it's time to do it again. Running it back. On paper, Minnesota looks like a very tough team. We can pull up the props.cash. If you want to use props.cash, make sure you use code GUT25. You get 25% of your first month. But if you don't use if you don't bet a lot, it's not worth it. If I'm going to be very honest. But if you bet a ton, this is definitely worth it, as you do have to pay monthly for it. As you can see on the right side of my screen, I'll move this in a little bit closer so you can see. As you see on the right side of my screen, second in rush yards, first in rush attempts against Minnesota. Now, again, they've had a lot of positive game scripts for them to make this number lower. They've also haven't fucking played really anybody. The teams they've shut down the run this year, the Jets couldn't run the ball until Monday night. The Giants, week 1, Devin Singletary, Daniel Jones, horrible game, threw pick 6. They were behind the entire game. Obviously, they got shut down. And the Texans with Cam Akers, no Joe Mixon. So obviously those 3 teams they shut down makes these stats look crazy because they only allowed about a total of 50 rushing yards in those 3 games, which pulls this number down so much if you average it out. The games they didn't do well. The Niners, close game. Jordan Mason, 20 attempts, 100 yards. Packers, Josh Jacobs in a negative game script. 9 carries, 51 yards. They play good teams. It becomes a little bit close, and the tide changes, the script changes, and they allow way more rushing yards than it's perceived to be on paper. Now, why do I like that for Jahmyr Gibbs? Because right now, the Detroit Lions are dogs. I don't agree with it, but I think they're dogs. They're plus 2.5 right now. And Gibbs has seen 11 plus attempts in each game this season. So he's had the volume. He only missed under this line 1 time. He has the 6th highest explosive run rate at 14.4% over the last 2 seasons. He also has 63% of Jahmyr Gibbs' carries come from under center. They have the 4th highest success rate under center this season. Jahmyr Gibbs averaged 0.23 EPA per carry on under center runs this season. That's more than double the next closest person, which is Derrick Henry. Gibbs is being efficient. He's seeing a lot of volume in games. Where they do trail, Gibbs seems to get more touches. It has the higher snap percentage. So we like to lean Gibbs more. So I'm leaning Gibbs. 49.5 feels like nothing for this offense. I think both these running backs smash over this line, but I think Gibbs does it in a quicker, more reliable manner. I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs all day. Time for a second bet. We're going to keep it moving. Keep it pushing. Waste no time. Houston, CJ Stroud, 247.5. I absolutely love this line. The Packers allow these 6th most passing yards per game at 248. 248, that's including the game against Tennessee, where that was a rough game. So the average out of only 248 feels nuts. Even last game, Kyler couldn't get shit going. Still have 248 average. So they've given him some pretty big games. CJ Stroud completed 39 of 69 attempts this year on passes that are 10 plus air yards, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns on those passes. But the thing is, he's generating a plus 37 EPA, which is the 5th most in the NFL. And going back to last season, that's the 2nd most in the NFL at plus 148.5 EPA on passes that are deep. Now, why do I say that? Because this Packers defense runs a lot of one high shell. They run a lot of man coverage. They mix in a good amount of zone, but they tend to trail closer to almost like the Jags were 2 weeks ago. And if you remember what CJ Stroud did to the Jags, we can take a look here on props, just so I can show you the visual of what he did. CJ Stroud, let's adjust this line down to 247.5, 345 yards for the Jags. Now, again, there's no Nico Collins this time. I understand that. I don't think it matters. I genuinely do not think it matters. I think CJ Stroud is going to crush 250 yards. And again, last game, they were up the entirety of the game. They didn't really need him to sling the rock down the field. New England also runs a lot of too high shells, so they avoid the deep balls. But the Packers don't. I think he can have some deep shots. I think Tank Dell can have a full breakout game. I think this team is just going to look good. Look real good. and I think is going to come on the back of C.J. Stroud. Also, they're underdogs. So, again, betting on the underdog to go over, because if they lose, if they're down, C.J. Stroud's going to sling the rock. You look at Buffalo. That was a close game. They were a tie ball game. Threw the rock. Jacksonville, they were down. Came back. Jacksonville, 345 yards. These games are the down. Now, Minnesota, he was out for most of the fourth quarter, but he probably would have gone over this if he played. You look at those scripts, CJ tends to do really well with those. So I think he's going to easily smash over this line. I love this line. I think he's a massive game. Now, heading to our next play. This one, low-key, sorry to just go backtrack. This one, low-key, might be my favorite play. But we'll keep it pushing. Seattle versus Atlanta. You already know I'm going to my boy Kenneth Walker. 66 rushing yards. But make sure if you're tailing these bets and you want the best value on these bets, you're making sure you're on Pickett. Because if you're on Pickett, you get all my bets. You can see the 4 I played so far. We're having 5 today, but one of them, the CJ play. Actually, the CJ play is here. 4 of them you can't see. Which is the one that I can't place right now? Oh, Chase. Chase isn't on books right now, which we'll get to. I'm going to bet on Jamar Chase, but it's not on books. So I have to wait till that because I'm recording this on Wednesday because we go to Texas. I'm going to be having a ton of bets out this weekend, all weekend. So make sure you're on Pickett, tailing or fading the fuck out of me. Either one works. Have fun doing it. I'm going to have a Michigan bet. I'm going to have, not a Michigan bet. I'm going to have a Georgia bet when we're at Texas versus Georgia in Texas with the frats, with the people around Texas, with the biggest Texas fans. And I'll be placing on Georgia. We'll see how that goes, but make sure you're tailing on Pickett for free. BDGE when you sign up. It's absolutely free to sign up and use the code. Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it if you like betting. So, Kenneth Walker, 66.5 rushing yards. Absolutely going to smash this line. Hit over this mark in 2 of 4 games this season with 12-plus rushing attempts in 3 of the 4 games. The only game he didn't do it was against the Giants, which looked like an outlier game. He was definitely more of a pass catcher in that game. But the volume is there. The volume is great. The volume is healthy is what we want to see. Listen, he's healthy. Now, there's the other big thing. He did it. He did this on a game against Detroit. First game back. Destroyed Detroit. Then he plays San Francisco. It's a tough defensive line versus a banged up offensive line. Then you look at Atlanta, you're probably like, gut. Is this Atlanta defensive line good? No, it's not. Fraudulent as fuck, actually. They allow the 3rd most rushing attempts to running backs while allowing 98.3 rushing yards per game to running backs. That's just to running backs. And Kenneth has had over 70% of the snap share. So that's all to Kenneth. Chuba Hubbard without his starting center. Chuba Hubbard without his right tackle last week in a negative game script. Right for 92 yards. What is Kenneth going to do? What is Kenneth going to do? Kenneth is going to cook. Listen, Kenneth is just a really good fucking back, dude. And now that he's being used in the pass game, too, like, he could dominate this game. I think Seattle ends up winning. They're dogs right now. I think they end up winning this game. I have a lot of belief in this. I think he's going to have a positive game script. I think he's going to run for a lot. I think he's going to see around 14 carries this game. I don't know if they have his carries line up. They don't. As long as rushing yards at 18 yards for a reason, he's going to crush, dude. He's going to have a big game. He's going to have a big game. His touchdown is even for a reason. Going to have a big game. I think Kenneth absolutely smashes this line against a Atlanta team that gets smoked on the ground this season. Despite what they did last season, they get smoked on the ground this season. Heading to our next game, we're taking Jamar Chase. Like I said earlier, 78.5 receiving yards. Not quite on books yet, but as soon as it drops, boom, I'm beyond that bitch like swimwear. That's not a phrase, but we keep it moving. Jamar Chase, 78.5 receiving yards. Why do I love this line? The Browns love the 13th most receiving yards per game at 148.8 per game. We could pull up the props.cash for this game. Jamar Chase, there it is. The boy. You see those 3 games? He's still seeing the same amount of targets. So you remember last game, dig route, middle of the field, perfect throw by Joe Burrow, right on the money, right in the breadbasket. Probably would have taken it for about 20 yards. Drops it. Very unlike Jamar Chase. You don't see that very often. You know, you live with those punches. You roll with them. He would have had about 90 yards. He would have smashed over this line. So I'm going to take it for 4 games. We'll say that. Realistically, 3 or 4 games, you live with that. But I think he just goes over this again. So far, wide receiver ones to play the Browns. A.J. Brown, 116 yards. Terry McLaurin, 112 yards. Malik Neighbors, 78 yards. BTJ, 94 yards. And Jamar Chase, if I'm going to be very honest, very blunt, outside of A.J. Brown, is the best receiver there. Honestly, he might be better than A.J. Brown. And right now, Joe Burrow's playing at an MVP level. Not just comeback player of the year, MVP. So I'm going to take Jamar Chase every single day of the week, even on Sundays. And I think he dominates this game against his Cleveland defense. And here's the thing. Here's a rant I want to go on real quick. Take 2 seconds. As long as Deshaun Watson's a quarterback for this Browns team, they will never be good on defense. Why? You're probably like, gut, that sounds counterintuitive. Why the hell would that mean anything for the defensive side of the ball? But that's because the defense is on the field all the time. The defense is now on the field for more time than they're off the field. What does that mean? They're exhausted. What does it mean? They need to make more subs. They need to have more 2s and 3s in the game. We need 2s and 3s in the game. Go against Jamar Chase because Denzel Ward has gone back and forth on the field 100 times this game. It's going to be game over. It's going to be game over. Why were the Browns so good with Joe Flacco? Because the offense could hold the ball. The offense could hold the ball for long periods of time. Let the defense rest up. Let them recoup. Let them get their energy back. Come out defense, pound it. Get some stops. Myles Garrett can go full speed. Now Myles Garrett's running on an empty tank for half the game because they've run double the amount of plays the offense has. All right, last game. Last play for Gutters. Deontay Johnson. It's all the way up to 70.5 receiving yards now. By the time you see this, I'm recording this on Wednesday, midday, before we go to Texas. If you're receiving this on Friday, Saturday time when I post it, it might be a little bit higher. And I'm going to be honest, I'm taking it all the way to 75.5. If it goes up to 75, I'll probably fade then. I'll probably not take it then. But for now, we're absolutely smashing this line every single day of the week on Sundays. Reason being, he's been cooking. I got this line. If you're on Pickett, you tail me on Pickett. You're on Pickett using code BDG. You got this line 66.5. We're crushing it. But he's recently sits with Andy Dalton, but absolutely killing it. Absolutely killing it. This play I might have like the most numbers on too. Jamar Chase, 100+ yards. Zay Flowers, 100+ yards. Chris Godwin, 180+ yards. Malik Neighbors, 100+ yards, all versus this Washington defense. When they play a good number 1 wide receiver, they struggle, dude. Even in the worst offense in the league, Amari Cooper got 60 yards. They led the 6th most receiving yards in the league at 170 per game, and he's had 10+ targets in 3 or 4 games with Andy Dalton. The only game not against Chicago, who's shut down damn near every wide receiver one. Andy Dalton on quick passes this season, 56 for 79, pass attempts, 488 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus 7.3 EPA on such passes, which is 13 in the NFL. Why does that matter, Gut? It's quick passes. We want deep shots to Deontay. No, you don't. He gets the first read at the 7th highest rate in the NFL. Now, that's including some players that barely played this season, so it's probably like closer to 5th or 4th. But with Andy Dalton's at 36%. That is Jamar Chase level first read production. That is, I can pull it up. They pull up the list. I got it right in front of me. That is Malik Neighbors type target rates. That's A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson. The first read percentage is insane. Devontae Adams. Now Devontae Adams on a new team, but still. The first read percentage is nuts. He's one of the best in the league for first read percentages. You got to look at that. And Andy's one of the best quick passers. Those two things correlate. Make for a great duo. He should see a ton of targets in this game. He's seen targets. 14, 13, 10 targets. He's seeing the volume. And he's making it happen week in and week out. I think he continues to absolutely smash this line. I love this line. We're going to keep smashing it at 70.5 receiving yards. That's the 5 plays for you, fellas. Make sure you use code BDG when you sign up because you'll get an additional play, half a yard play, plus up to $1,000 to put on this leg. Let's keep it rolling. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that sort of fun shit down below. It's the easiest way to support the channel. Say you like these sort of videos, you like the research that I'm putting in, you appreciate the time that I put into these videos because I try to do my very, very best to get them out to you in the best manner. I try to hit the most of our plays. If I'm not mistaken, we have been green every single Sunday. So let's keep cashing. Let's keep cashing. Let's keep balling the fuck out. But that's all I got for you today. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff down below. And I'll catch you guys next time. Make sure to comment your favorite vegetable if you made it this far in the video. Peace.